Getting knocked out of the playoffs hurts, but getting knocked out the same way by the same team year after year, that's a whole different level of pain. Bills fans know it all too well after yet another soul-crushing postseason loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. 5 straight seasons of playoff wins, yet no Super Bowl appearances. That's an NFL first, and certainly not a good one. So what's really holding Buffalo back? Is it Josh Allen? The coaching? Something deeper? Here's why the Bills are so disappointing. To understand where the root of the problem lies, we'll have to go back to the first playoff appearance for Buffalo in the Josh Allen and Sean McDermott era. After a promising, if not inconsistent, rookie season, the second-year quarterback out of Wyoming showed steady improvement in 2019, with a 10-7 record snagging Buffalo an AFC wildcard spot. Their playoff charge would be built on the back of one of the league's finest defenses, who conceded 24 or more points on just one occasion. That being said, the offense was still finding its footing, and it showed as they put up just 3 points in the second half of a narrow 22-19 overtime loss to Houston in the wildcard round. Even with the benefit of hindsight, it's difficult to read too far into this loss, as the roster would undergo a significant overhaul in the offseason that followed. The addition of Stephon Diggs completely altered the shape of Buffalo's offense, and Josh Allen enjoyed a breakout 2020 campaign to earn the Bills the AFC 2 seed. In the first home playoff game of this era, Buffalo secured their first postseason win in 25 years thanks to the heroics from their star duo of Allen and Diggs. With 2 scores through the air and 1 on the ground for 378 yards of total offense, the Bills held off a late surge from a wildcard Indianapolis 27-24. Baltimore came to town in the divisional round for a windy contest that sat at 3-3 by halftime, only to erupt in the third quarter. Buffalo came out with a 66-yard scoring drive, with Baltimore appearing to respond in kind, until Lamar Jackson tossed a pick in the end zone, which was promptly run 101 yards for a score by Taron Johnson. 17-3 was the final score, and the Bills were headed to their first AFC championship since the 1993 season. They would travel to the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, who they had already lost to in the regular season, and would be comfortably outclassed by 38-24 despite a strong start. It's worth noting here that the 38 points conceded at Arrowhead was the second most scored on Buffalo that entire season, a concerning sign for their ambition of postseason success, which was certainly not helped by Allen throwing his only pick of the postseason that day as well. Both of these provided lessons that the team would carry with them into 2021, evidenced by a cathartic 38-20 win over the Chiefs in the regular season, with a tidy 4 TD performance from Allen en route to an 11-6 record. The star QB then passed for 5 scores as the Bills torched the Patriots in the wildcard round, off to Kansas City with a head full of steam. This time around, Buffalo didn't just put up a better fight, they were in pole position to win an epic back-and-forth battle, finding the go-ahead 27-yard passing touchdown on a 4th and 13. Capped off with a drawn-out 2-point attempt, and Buffalo were up 29-26 with just under 2 minutes left. It only took KC 5 plays to go 75 yards and regain the lead, draining the clock down to just 1 minute and 2 seconds in the process. But Allen delivered for his team in the clutch, capping off a scoring drive to Gabe Davis once again, leading the game by 3 points with just 13 seconds left. Then, as you most likely can recall, the Chiefs used those 13 seconds to score a field goal, sending the game to overtime where they sealed the deal with the old Mahomes-Kelsey connection, 42-36. It's hard to poke holes in the Bills' showing here, as they displayed resilience in a shootout that was only eclipsed by 13 seconds of madness from KC. Allen had tidied up his play without a single turnover in the postseason, while taking just 2 sacks at Arrowhead in 2021, an improvement from 4 the year prior. While the devastating end to their season did force the NFL to reconsider overtime rules, there was one disconcerting pattern starting to emerge for Buffalo. The defense conceded their highest points tally of the season in the playoffs, allowing twice as many points to the Chiefs in the divisional round as they had during the regular season. Nevertheless, Buffalo made the postseason for the 4th straight year in 2022 thanks to a 13-3 record. They would host another division rival in the wildcard round in the Miami Dolphins, who were down to their 3rd-string quarterback, which should have been light work for the Bills. Running out to a 17-0 lead made it seem all the more likely. Instead, the game went down to the wire, finishing 34-31 in Buffalo's favor, but not without a fight. Allen had a wild game, throwing 2 interceptions while also being stripped at his own 25 with the fumble returned for a score. Not a good look as they hosted the Bengals in an emotionally charged divisional round matchup, as their regular season encounter had been abandoned due to the collapse of Damar Hamlin. Cincy came to play in a snow-covered Orchard Park, putting up 27 points on a visibly stifled Bills team. Josh Allen registered the lowest passer rating of his postseason career, while throwing a costly pick and being decisively outdueled by Joe Burrow. To his credit, Buffalo's only touchdown of the day did come through Josh Allen's legs, but finding the end zone only once at home in the playoffs simply won't cut it. That's not to say that the defense got off scot-free either. During the regular season, they were the second best unit in the NFL by points allowed, but their playoff games against the Dolphins and Bengals were among their 4 worst performances of the year. An 11-6 record in 2023 clinched Buffalo the AFC 2 seed. They were headed into the playoffs fresh off a 5-game win streak, which they extended to 6 with a 31-17 triumph over the Steelers. But beating up on Pittsburgh in the first round is nothing new. The real test would, of course, be the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional round, but this year, with an important twist. For the first time in the postseason, the rivals would play at Highmark Stadium, finally giving Bills Mafia the coveted home field advantage. Buffalo was once again headed into the playoffs having taken the spoils in their regular season matchup, just as they had 2 years prior, in what proved to be a similarly back-and-forth game. Allen was solid once again, adapting to the demands of the game, using his legs for 2 scores to keep the Bills in the contest. Casey opened the fourth quarter with a go-ahead touchdown by Isaiah Pacheco. While the Bills initially struggled to get going, they marched down to the Chiefs' 26 for a potentially game-tying field goal, which was infamously sliced wide right by Tyler Bass, sealing Buffalo's fate. What's more, the 27 points conceded that night was the 3rd most by the Bills that entire season, an unequivocal indictment of their helplessness against KC. By that same token, their combined stats from their 4 playoff losses on the defensive side of the ball were atrocious. On 38 drives, they allowed 16 touchdowns, 8 field goals, and 6 kneel downs, while only forcing 6 punts, 1 turnover, and 1 missed field goal. Not including the kneel downs, they've allowed opposing offenses to put points on the board on a whopping 75% of their drives. Looking to right this wrong, they got significantly younger on defense and looked like a serious contender in the 2024 regular season, even snapping KC's unbeaten streak in Week 11. With the AFC East wrapped up by Week 13, Buffalo meant business, brushing Denver aside in the wildcard round before battling through a tough Baltimore Ravens 27-25, a failed 2-point conversion away from going to overtime. All of this sent the Bills back to their first conference championship since their comprehensive loss to the Chiefs 4 years prior. But this Bills team was vastly different. Josh Allen was now the MVP favorite. They were battle-tested, ready to down one of the weaker Chiefs teams in recent memory. Playing from behind in the first half, Buffalo finally took a 22-21 lead to start the third quarter, but left points on the board thanks to failed 2-point conversions. Another touchdown for each side, and a successful 2-pointer for KC saw them tied at 29 apiece. Harrison Butker would knock through the go-ahead field goal with 3.5 minutes remaining. On the ensuing drive, Buffalo struggled to get out of their own half, finding themselves with a 4th and 5 on their own 47 just after.
And last night, I've watched the tape back multiple times. Josh Allen actually could have adjusted the protection and got that blitz picked up. But no one is talking about that because I think there's a fear right now amongst the media to criticize Josh Allen because he has been so great. And I do think Josh Allen is a great quarterback, but they're in an empty formation. They motioned Khalil Shakir into the back, have him run that bubble. If Josh Allen simply gave I don't know what they call it, but it's an RL call, and it borrows the backside guard and takes them to the right, they would pick up that blitz, and he would have had an opportunity to hit Dalton Kincaid for a massive gain with the entire blitz picked up. And if they didn't pick it up, he still would have been able to throw the swing pass out to Khalil Shakir if that end ended up dropping, pressured him. That to me was a bigger issue than Kincaid dropping the ball.
That point, it does bring into question some of his decision-making. To what extent is he responsible for the Bills' January struggles? After some messy performances against Houston in 2019, along with Miami and Cincinnati in 2022, Allen's mistakes made it significantly tougher for the Bills to stay in those games. While those were certainly some worrying spells for the QB, by and large, his performances in the postseason have been damn near the best thing about the Bills. Sure, he suffered from some hero ball tendencies early on, but Josh Allen has also single-handedly kept Buffalo alive in the playoffs with his 3,359 passing yards for 25 touchdowns to only 4 picks. His clutch performance in the 13-second game is overshadowed by the dramatic ending, while his versatility and arm strength have bailed out some erratic play from his teammates, namely on defense. According to 2BillsDrive.com, since 2000, teams with 4+ TDs and 0 turnovers in a playoff game are 59-3. Those 3 losses are the Chiefs versus the Patriots in the 2018 AFC Championship, and the Bills versus the Chiefs in the 2021 Divisional Round, and the 2024 AFC Championship. That, in tandem with the Bills' defense's tragic points against record in the postseason, makes it clear where most of the blame should go for their inability to get over that final hurdle. While the 32 points they conceded to the Chiefs in this year's AFC Championship game was shockingly Mahomes & Co.'s highest points total of the entire year, KC have also had postseason scoring highs in each of their previous 3 wins over Buffalo. Josh Allen could use more elite weapons, but in the current state of affairs, the offense can't score at the pace at which the defense has allowed points in the postseason. This becomes especially incriminating considering Sean McDermott's defensive background, which has understandably raised questions around his ceiling as a head coach with an utterly inexplicable drop-off every postseason. There are plenty of refereeing decisions in this year's AFC Championship game that made the Chiefs impassable, but it's important that Bills fans focus on what their team can control first. When they had a defense that wouldn't waver in the postseason, Josh Allen was still finding his footing. But now the tables have turned, and the Buffalo front office must swiftly build a stronger defensive identity before it's too late. These are their quarterback's prime years, and it would be a shame to pass them by without bringing the city its first NFL silverware. But what do you think? Where does the main problem lay for Josh Allen and the Bills? Let us know in the comments.